The first alien ship appeared over New York City on a clear Tuesday morning. Within hours, hundreds more filled the skies worldwide. They hung there, silent and threatening, for 3 full days before the attacks began. Commander Alan Wright was eating breakfast when the emergency alert blared from his phone. He grabbed it and read the message. "All military personnel report immediately. This is not a drill." His wife Laura looked up from her coffee, worry creasing her face. "I have to." "Go," he said, already moving toward the door. "Be careful," she called after him. Alan drove fast to the underground command center outside Washington, D.C. The roads were clogged with panicked civilians trying to flee the city. When he arrived, the Situation Room was in chaos. Screens showed major cities around the world under attack. Strange crystal structures were falling from the alien ships, landing in population centers and releasing pulses of energy that disabled all electronics within miles. General Catherine Sullivan spotted him and waved him over. Her normally neat gray hair was messy, and dark circles shadowed her eyes. "Right, good. We need everyone we can get. The president is being moved to a secure location, and we've lost contact with most of our forces." "What are we dealing with?" Alan asked. Sullivan pointed to a screen showing a frozen image of one of the aliens. It was tall and thin with pale blue skin that seemed to shimmer like water. Its eyes were large and black, and it had no visible mouth. "They call themselves the Keldori. They sent a message about an hour ago, just before they started the attack." She pressed a button and a strange voice filled the room. It spoke English, but with a rhythm that sounded wrong, like it was being made by something that had never used a human voice before. "People of Earth, you are now under the protection of the Keldori Dominion. Your species has been identified as a Level 3 threat to galactic stability. Your aggressive tendencies and rapid technological development make you unsuitable for free expansion. You will be contained and harvested for the greater good. Resistance is unnecessary and will only increase suffering." The message ended. The room was silent for a moment. "Harvested?" Alan finally asked. Dr. Olivia Martinez stepped forward. She was the top scientist at NASA's Alien Research Division, though until this week they hadn't had any actual aliens to study. "They're after our brains," she said. "Or more specifically, certain chemicals our brains produce. From what we can tell from early capture attempts, they consume human neural tissue as a kind of drug. It enhances their telepathic abilities." Alan felt sick. "They're farming us. That appears to be the plan," Sullivan confirmed. "But we're not going to let that happen." Over the next few days, military forces around the world attempted to fight back. Missiles were fired at the alien ships. Fighter jets engaged in aerial combat. None of it worked. The missiles exploded harmlessly against invisible shields. The jets were disabled by the same energy pulses that had taken out other electronics, sending pilots plummeting to their deaths. The Keldori ground troops moved through cities with horrible efficiency. They didn't use guns or bombs. Instead, they carried slim rods that emitted a blue light. Anyone caught in the light froze in place, unable to move as they were loaded onto transport vehicles and taken to large structures the aliens were building, processing centers where humans were kept until needed. 1 week after the invasion began, Alan sat in another emergency meeting with what remained of the world's military leadership, most joining by secure radio, as travel had become nearly impossible. The news was grim. "New York has fallen," reported the American general. "Los Angeles, too. They're moving inland now." "Beijing is lost," said the Chinese representative. "Shanghai, as well. We've moved all remaining forces to the western mountains." "Moscow is under siege," added the Russian commander. "We've had some success with older weapons, mechanical rifles and such, but not enough to turn the tide." Indeed, that had been humanity's only small advantage. The aliens' technology disabled modern electronics, but older, simpler weapons still worked. Soldiers with bolt-action rifles could still fire them, but there weren't nearly enough of these weapons, and the aliens' personal shields could stop most bullets anyway. Dr. Martinez had been working day and night in a makeshift lab set up in the command center. She now stood to address the group. I may have found something, she said, her voice hoarse from lack of sleep. We captured some footage from a skirmish in Atlanta. One of our soldiers managed to wound a Keldori soldier, and I've been studying it. She played a video on a small projection screen. It showed a chaotic fight in what looked like a shopping mall. A group of human soldiers was pinned down behind overturned tables. The aliens advanced slowly, their blue, stunning lights sweeping forward. One soldier, apparently out of ammunition, let out a scream of rage and charged directly at the aliens with nothing but a combat knife. The others yelled for him to stop, but he kept going. Then something strange happened. The lead alien actually stepped back. It seemed to recoil from the charging human even before he reached it. When the knife struck, it cut through the shield. That had stopped bullets and struck the alien's arm, drawing a spray of silvery liquid. Martinez froze the image. Look at the alien's posture. It's afraid, not just surprised, actually afraid. Of a knife? Sullivan asked skeptically. Not of the knife, Martinez said. Of him, or more specifically, of his emotional state. I've run tests on blood samples from soldiers who've been in intense combat situations. Our bodies produce a cocktail of chemicals during extreme stress: adrenaline, cortisol, norepinephrine, and dozens of others. The Keldori seem hypersensitive to these chemicals. They're telepathic, remember? They can sense our emotional states, and extreme aggression appears to be painful or toxic to them. The room was quiet as everyone processed this information. You're saying our best weapon against these things might be getting really angry? Alan asked. Martinez nodded. Their technology is far beyond ours. Their bodies are stronger and faster, but they evolved in a different environment than we did. They never developed our fight-or-flight response because they never needed it. Our capacity for aggression, the very thing they're trying to contain, could be their weakness. In a small town in Nebraska, far from the command center discussions, former Marine Bill Hayes watched alien ships pass overhead. They hadn't reached his rural community yet, but it was only a matter of time. His wife Patricia stood beside him, on their porch, their daughter asleep inside. Their neighbors had gathered in their yard looking to Bill for guidance. He had been in combat, had fought in wars. They hadn't. What are we going to do? Patricia asked quietly. Bill thought about his time in combat, about the darkness he'd found inside himself, the capacity for violence he'd tried to leave behind when he returned to civilian life. They think we're weak, he said, watching the ships. They have no idea what humans can do when we're fighting for our families, for our survival. He looked at the frightened faces around him. And we're going to show them. He didn't know that hundreds of miles away the military was coming to the same conclusion. Humanity's savage nature, long seen as something to be controlled and contained, might be the very thing that would save them. 3 months passed since the aliens first arrived. Humanity was losing badly. The Keldori now controlled most major cities around the world. They had built large processing centers where captured humans were taken. No one who went into these centers ever came out. Dr. Olivia Martinez worked day and night in her underground lab. The facility was hidden beneath an old farm in Iowa, powered by generators that were too simple for the aliens to detect. She hadn't seen daylight in weeks. I think I've got something, she said to Alan Wright, who had been assigned to protect her research team. She pointed to a screen showing test results. Look at these readings. Alan looked but didn't understand the charts and numbers. What am I seeing? The effect of human stress hormones on Keldori cellular samples, she explained. When exposed to concentrated human adrenaline, their cells begin to break down. It's like poison to them. Alan remembered the video they had seen months earlier, of the soldier charging the aliens in rage. So that soldier in Atlanta, his emotional state was generating enough stress hormones to be toxic to them, Martinez finished. The more intense the emotion, the stronger the effect. Their conversation was interrupted by the arrival of Captain Frank Donovan. His uniform was torn and dirty, and he had a fresh scar across his cheek. He and his squad had been fighting a guerrilla war in what was left of Chicago. We've seen it too, he said after hearing about Martinez's discovery. Last week we were cornered in an old subway station. No way out. My team was down to their last bullets. Then Joey, he's this kid from Detroit, first combat deployment. He just lost it, started screaming and charged right at them. We thought he was dead for sure. What happened? Alan asked. The aliens scattered, like they were afraid of him. He managed to kill 2 of them with just a combat knife before they regrouped. Gave us enough time to escape. Donovan shook his head. I've never seen anything like it. They have all this advanced tech, but they ran from one angry human. General Sullivan called an emergency meeting of the United Earth Defense Council. Representatives from surviving military forces around the world gathered in the underground facility. Martinez presented her findings. The Keldori evolved in a completely different environment than humans, she explained. Their homeworld was peaceful. They never faced predators or fought for survival the way our ancestors did. They never developed a fight-or-flight response. So our primitive instincts are their weakness, Sullivan said. Exactly. Their telepathic abilities are highly sensitive to emotional states. Human rage, terror, or extreme stress generates a neurochemical cocktail that overwhelms their senses. It's like shining a bright light into sensitive eyes, or a deafening sound to sensitive ears, but much worse. Lieutenant Susan Garcia, a former Olympic athlete who now led Special Forces missions, spoke up. So our best warriors would be the most aggressive, most emotionally reactive soldiers we have? Yes, Martinez nodded. The very qualities modern military training tries to reduce, uncontrolled aggression, berserker rage, battle fury, are exactly what make humans toxic to the Keldori. We need to find these people, Sullivan decided. Anyone with combat experience who's shown these tendencies. Former soldiers who maybe had trouble adjusting to civilian life because they couldn't control their combat instincts. In Nebraska, Bill Hayes and his neighbors had formed a resistance cell. They used old hunting rifles and homemade explosives to attack Keldori patrols that came near their community. Bill had discovered something important. If they attacked with enough fury and determination, the aliens sometimes retreated even when they had superior numbers. One night, Bill was planning their next ambush when there was a knock at his door. His wife Patricia opened it to find a woman in a military uniform standing there. Lieutenant Garcia, United Earth Defense Forces, she introduced herself. I'm looking for William Hayes. Bill stepped forward. That's me. Mr. Hayes, we've heard about your success against Keldori patrols. I need you to come with me. There's a program you should be part of. What kind of program? One that could turn the tide of this war. 2 days later, Bill found himself at the underground facility in Iowa. There were dozens of others like him, soldiers and civilians who had shown unusual success in combat against the aliens. They sat in a large conference room as General Sullivan explained the situation. Each of you has demonstrated something special in your encounters with the enemy, Sullivan said. You've shown that humans can hurt them, can make them afraid. Dr. Martinez will explain why. Martinez stepped forward and described her discovery about Keldori sensitivity to human stress hormones. Your natural aggressive instincts make you toxic to them. We're going to build on that, train you to use it as a weapon. Colonel Richard Dawson was introduced as the training program leader. He was a hard-faced man with cold eyes. Our entire military history, we've trained soldiers to be calm under pressure, to control their emotions, he said. We're going to do the opposite with you. We're going to teach you to channel your rage, to use it precisely. The program was called Operation Primal Fury. The training was unlike anything Bill had experienced in the Marines. Instead of learning to suppress fear and anger, they were taught to embrace these emotions, to amplify them. Dr. Natalie Brown, the program psychologist, worked with each soldier individually. Think of your most primitive instincts as a weapon, she told Bill during a session. When your family is threatened, when you're cornered, your body produces chemicals that make you stronger, faster, more aggressive. The aliens can't handle that. The scientists developed a serum that temporarily enhanced the body's natural adrenaline production. The first time Bill received an injection, he felt like his blood was on fire. His senses sharpened painfully. Sounds were too loud, lights too bright. But he also felt powerful, unstoppable. In the training yard, they practiced focusing this energy, not mindless rage, but controlled savagery. They learned to direct it like a laser at their enemies. Major Gregory Simmons led the first enhanced squad in a field test against a small Keldori outpost. They returned with no casualties and reported that the aliens had actually fled from them in terror. "It wasn't just that our weapons worked better," Simmons reported. "They seemed to feel pain just being near us." One of them dropped to its knees, before I even reached it, clutching its head like it was in agony. Lieutenant Garcia began assembling squads for a larger operation. She approached Bill after a training session. "I want you to lead Alpha Squad," she said. "You have the right balance of aggression and control." Bill thought about his wife and daughter waiting for him back in Nebraska, about the processing centers where thousands of humans were being held, about the future his daughter would have. If they didn't stop the Keldori. "When do we start?" he asked. "Tomorrow," Garcia replied. "Operation Savage Dawn begins at first light." For the first time since the invasion, humanity was ready to fight back. Not with advanced technology, but with something much older and more powerful. The primal fury that had helped humans survive and dominate Earth for thousands of years. Operation Savage Dawn began at sunrise. 100 soldiers from the Primal Fury program were divided into 10 squads. Each squad had a different target, small Keldori outposts or patrols that could be attacked without alerting their main forces. Bill Hayes led Alpha Squad, a team of 8 former soldiers and civilian fighters. Their mission was to attack a Keldori observation post near the ruins of Denver. Before they moved out, Dr. Martinez gave each of them an injection of the adrenaline-boosting serum. "Remember," she said as she pressed the needle into Bill's arm, "the serum amplifies what's already inside you. Channel it, don't let it control you." Bill felt the now familiar fire in his veins as the serum took effect. His heart beat faster, his senses sharpened. The world seemed to slow down around him. Lieutenant Garcia wished them luck before they boarded the transport vehicles, old diesel trucks that were too simple for Keldori technology to detect. "Your mission is to test their reactions to enhanced soldiers in a combat situation. Get in, engage the enemy, observe their response, and get out. Don't take unnecessary risks." The drive to the target took 3 hours. They traveled on back roads, avoiding the main highways where Keldori patrols were common. When they were 5 miles from the observation post, they stopped and continued on foot. The Keldori facility was small, a dome-shaped structure on a hill with 3 aliens visible outside. They carried the blue light rods that could freeze humans in place. Bill signaled to his squad to spread out and surround the structure. "Remember your training," he whispered. "Don't fight the rage, direct it, use it." On his signal they charged. Bill felt the familiar battle fury rise inside him, but now it was stronger, more focused. The world narrowed to just him and his targets. The effect on the aliens was immediate and dramatic. Even before the humans fired their first shots, the Keldori seemed to sense them coming. One dropped its weapon and clutched at its head. Another backed away, making a high-pitched sound they had never heard from the aliens before. Bill's squad opened fire with their simple, mechanical weapons, bolt-action rifles and pump shotguns that were immune to the aliens' technology-disabling fields. The Keldori shields that normally stopped bullets flickered and failed as the enhanced humans approached. "They can't maintain their defenses when exposed to our emotional state," one of Bill's squad members shouted as he shot an alien through its now unprotected body. The fight was over in minutes. All 3 Keldori were dead. Bill's squad had suffered no casualties. "Search the structure," Bill ordered, his voice rough from the effects of the serum and the lingering battle rage. Inside, they found maps and what looked like communication devices. They also found something worse. Containers of a silvery fluid that they recognized from Martinez's briefings as processed human neural tissue. The sight of it sent a fresh wave of fury through Bill's body. They packed up everything they could, carry and planted explosives around the base. As they withdrew to a safe distance, Bill pressed the detonator. The Keldori structure disappeared in a ball of fire. All across what remained of the United States, similar scenes played out as the other 9 squads hit their targets. Every mission was a success. The enhanced human soldiers proved devastatingly effective against the Keldori. Back at the underground facility, Bill and the other squad leaders reported their findings to General Sullivan and Dr. Martinez. They were terrified of us, Major, Simmons said. Not just surprised or outmatched, genuinely afraid. Their technology failed when we got close, added Captain Donovan. Shields dropped, weapons malfunctioned. It was like our emotional state disrupted their system somehow. Dr. Martinez nodded, typing notes as they spoke. Their technology is partially biological, partially psychic. Your enhanced emotional states create a field that interferes with both. We need to hit them harder, Sullivan said. These small victories are good, but we need to start taking back territory. Lieutenant Garcia, what's your assessment? Garcia had been analyzing the reports from all 10 squads. The serum works, but its effects are temporary, and there's a crash afterward. Some of our soldiers were barely able to make it back to extraction points before the serum wore off. We're working on a more stable version, Martinez assured her. But there's another option we could try. She brought up images on a screen. These are scans of Bill's brain before and after injection with the serum. The patterns of activity are different, but with training, he's learned to generate similar patterns without the serum, just less intensely. What are you suggesting? Sullivan asked. Neural implants, Martinez said. Small devices that could help soldiers maintain the optimal emotional state for longer periods without the serum. The room was quiet as everyone considered this. Would be voluntary, of course, Martinez added, but it could give us a more reliable force. Sullivan turned to the squad leaders. What do you think? Bill thought about what he had seen inside the Keldori base, the containers of human neural tissue. He thought about his wife and daughter, and all the other families waiting for someone to save them. I'll do it, he said. One by one, the other squad leaders agreed. 2 weeks later, Bill lay on an operating table as Martinez prepared to insert a small device at the base of his skull. This will help you control your emotional state, she explained. You'll be able to amplify your aggressive responses when needed and dial them back when the mission is complete. The procedure took less than an hour. When Bill woke up, he felt different, more aware of his emotions, more able to direct them. In the training yard, he and the other implanted soldiers practiced with their new abilities. They could now trigger a state similar to what the serum produced, but with more control. And without the crash afterward, Colonel Dawson was impressed with their progress. You're learning to use the most primitive part of your brain as a weapon, he told them. The part that evolved when we were still fighting saber-toothed tigers with stone spears. Dr. Brown, the psychologist, worked with them on controlling the implants. Think of your rage as a dial, she instructed. You can turn it up when you need it, down when you don't, but never turn it off completely while in the field. The background level of aggression is enough to make the Keldori uncomfortable. After a month of training with the implants, Sullivan called them together for a new mission briefing. Operation Savage Dawn was a success, she said. Now we're ready for Phase 2, Operation Primal Strike. Our goal is to attack and capture a Keldori processing center. A hush fell over the room. Everyone knew what happened in those centers. The aliens harvested humans for their neural tissue. We've identified a facility near what used to be St. Louis, Sullivan continued. Intelligence suggests there are at least 1,000 human captives inside. Lieutenant Garcia will lead the mission. Garcia stepped forward and looked at the assembled soldiers. This won't be like our previous missions. We're not just hitting and running. We're going in, freeing the prisoners, and holding the facility until evacuation units can arrive. Bill felt a cold determination settle in his chest. This was what they had been preparing for. A real chance to strike back at the invaders, to save lives. We move out at dawn, Garcia said. Get some rest. Tomorrow we show the Keldori what happens when you push humans too far. The Keldori Processing Center near St. Louis was larger than they expected. From their position on a wooded hill half a mile away, Bill Hayes and Lieutenant Garcia used binoculars to study the facility. It was a massive structure, like a stadium, made of strange silver-blue material. Around it was a high wall with Keldori guards patrolling at regular intervals. I count 12 guards on the outer wall, Garcia said. Probably more inside. Bill nodded. And those are the hunter units. He pointed to 3 taller aliens with darker blue skin. Martinez says they're specially bred to be less sensitive to our emotions. 60 soldiers from the Primal Fury program lay hidden in the woods, waiting for orders. Each had the neural implant that allowed them to control their aggressive states. They were divided into 3 teams. Alpha team would breach the outer wall, Beta team would secure the entrance and create a safe corridor, and Gamma team would enter the facility and locate the human prisoners. Remember, Garcia told them during the final briefing, our primary objective is to free the captives. Everything else is secondary. At midnight, Operation Primal Strike began. Alpha team, led by Bill, moved silently toward the outer wall. When they were 100 yards away, they activated their implants. Bill felt the familiar surge of controlled rage fill his body. His heartbeat quickened, and his senses sharpened. The effect on the Keldori guards was immediate. They became agitated, looking around as if sensing a threat, but unable to see it yet. One clutched its head and made the high-pitched sound they now knew was a sign of distress. Now, Bill whispered. Alpha team rushed forward. They had trained for weeks for this moment, channeling their enhanced aggression into coordinated action. The regular Keldori guards were overwhelmed before they could even raise their weapons. The hunter units put up more resistance, but even they faltered when faced with the full force of human battle rage at close quarters. Within 5 minutes, the outer wall was secure. Bill signaled to Beta team, who moved up to establish a corridor to the main entrance. Outer defenses breached, Garcia reported through the radio to General Sullivan, who was coordinating from a mobile command post 10 miles away. Moving to Phase 2, Beta team, led by Captain Donovan, approached the main entrance. They carried simple but effective weapons, shotguns, bolt-action rifles, and even some bows and arrows. The Keldori technology disabling fields had no effect on these basic tools. The entrance was guarded by 2 hunter units. Beta team's enhanced emotional state weakened the aliens, but didn't incapacitate them. A fierce firefight broke out. 2 human soldiers were hit by the blue light from the Keldori weapons and froze in place. "We need more pressure," Donovan shouted. The soldiers dialed up their implants to maximum. The wave of rage and aggression that radiated from them caused the hunter units to stagger back. Donovan seized the opportunity and led a charge that overwhelmed the guards. "Entrance secured," he reported. "Gamma team, you're up." Gamma team, led by Major Simmons, entered the facility. Inside was a large central space with corridors branching off in different directions. The walls pulsed with a faint blue light, and there was a strange humming sound in the air. "Life signs that way," said a soldier who carried a device Dr. Martinez had created to detect human biosignatures. He pointed to a corridor on the right. Gamma team moved cautiously down the corridor. They passed several rooms with strange equipment, devices they recognized from Martinez's briefings as neural extractors. The sight of these machines, designed to harvest human brain tissue, sent a fresh wave of fury through the soldiers, strengthening their emotional field. At the end of the corridor, they found what they were looking for: a large chamber filled with transparent tubes. Inside each tube was a human, suspended in a clear liquid, eyes closed but clearly alive. "My God," Simmons whispered. "There must be hundreds of them." A soldier who had medical training examined the nearest tube. "They're in some kind of stasis, alive but unconscious. Can we get them out?" Simmons asked. "I think so. There's a control panel here." Before they could figure out how to operate it, an alarm sounded throughout the facility. From another corridor, a group of at least 20 Keldori rushed in, led by a creature unlike any they had seen before. It was taller than the others, with skin that was almost black, and it wore some kind of mechanical suit. "An overseer," one of the soldiers said, remembering Martinez's briefings. "They're supposed to be immune to our emotional states." The overseer raised a hand, and a wave of force knocked several soldiers off their feet. The regular Keldori behind it raised their weapons. "Maximum output," Simmons ordered. "Everyone dial it up to full." All the soldiers in Gamma team cranked their implants to the highest setting. The wave of primal human rage that flooded the room was so intense that some of them could actually see it, a ripple in the air like heat over hot pavement. The regular Keldori fell to their knees, clutching their heads. Several began to convulse. But the Overseer stood firm, protected by its suit. The suit shielding it, Simmons realized. Target the suit. The soldiers opened fire. Most of their bullets bounced off the Overseer's armor, but a few found weak points. The suit sparked and smoked. As its protection failed, the Overseer began to feel the full force of the human's emotional assault. It staggered back, its movements becoming jerky and uncoordinated. Simmons himself delivered the final blow, charging forward with a combat knife and driving it into a gap in the suit's chest plate. The Overseer fell, leaking silvery fluid onto the floor. "Secure the room," Simmons ordered. "And figure out how to get these people out of those tubes." Outside, Bill and Alpha Team were holding the perimeter when Garcia radioed with news. "More, Keldori incoming. At least 50, including multiple hunter units and what looks like another Overseer." Sullivan's voice came over the radio from the command post. "All teams, what's your status?" "Alpha Team holding the perimeter," Bill reported. "Beta Team securing the entrance corridor," Donovan added. "Gamma Team has located approximately 300 human captives," Simmons said. "We're working on extraction now, but we need time." "You'll have it," Sullivan assured them. "Reinforcements are on the way." The second wave of Operation Primal Strike has been launched. Multiple Keldori facilities are under attack across the continent. They're dividing their forces. Bill looked at the soldiers around him. They were tired, some were wounded, but all were still filled with the controlled fury that made them so effective against the aliens. "We hold this position," he told them. "No matter what comes, we give Gamma Team the time they need to free those people." The approaching Keldori force came into view, a mass of blue figures moving across the open ground toward the facility. Bill dialed his implant to maximum and felt the savage battle joy fill him. The others did the same. Together they created a wall of human emotional energy so strong that the approaching aliens visibly faltered. "For Earth," Bill said, and led his team forward to meet the enemy. The battle outside the processing center was fierce. Bill and Alpha Team fought with everything they had against the incoming Keldori forces. Their neural implants were at maximum output, creating a wall of human emotion that made the aliens falter and struggle. "Hold the line," Bill shouted as he fired his rifle at an approaching hunter unit. The special alien staggered but kept coming. These enhanced Keldori were harder to affect with emotional attacks. Just when it seemed like they might be overwhelmed, the sky lit up with explosions. Human fighter planes, old models that had been hidden away since the invasion, roared overhead, dropping bombs on the Keldori reinforcements. "Air support has arrived," Garcia announced over the radio. Second wave of Operation Primal Strike is in full effect. Inside the facility, Major Simmons and Gamma Team worked frantically to free the human captives from their stasis tubes. A soldier who had been an engineer before the invasion figured out the control panel. "I can release them all at once," he said. "But they'll be weak. They've been in these tubes for who knows how long." "Do it," Simmons ordered. "Beta Team can help evacuate them." The engineer pressed a sequence of buttons. The clear liquid drained from all the tubes at once and the transparent doors slid open. Hundreds of people fell forward, coughing and disoriented. Captain Donovan led Beta Team in to help. "We need to move them out now," he said. "There's transport waiting 2 miles from here." The rescued captives were weak but able to walk with assistance. Many were crying, others were in shock. All had been scheduled for neural harvesting by the Keldori. "What happened?" asked a woman as a soldier helped her toward the exit. "The last thing I remember, I was in Chicago when the aliens came." "You're safe now," the soldier assured her. "Humanity is fighting back." Outside, the battle had turned in humanity's favor. The air support had devastated the Keldori reinforcements, and the remaining aliens were retreating. Bill watched them go, feeling the controlled fury still burning in his veins thanks to the implant. Part of him wanted to chase them, to keep fighting until none were left. But he knew the mission came first. "Perimeter secure," he reported to Garcia. "How's the evacuation going?" "Almost complete," she replied. Gamma Team is doing final sweeps for any remaining captives. Major Simmons and his team moved deeper into the facility, checking for any humans they might have missed. In a smaller chamber off the main room, they found something unexpected, a Keldori communication station. This could be valuable, Simmons said. Martinez might be able to use it to intercept their transmissions. As they were disconnecting the equipment to take with them, a hidden door in the wall slid open. A tall, slender Keldori stepped out, not a regular soldier or hunter, but something different. Its skin was pale, almost white, and it wore elaborate robes instead of armor. A communicator, one of the soldiers whispered. They're their leadership caste. Before anyone could react, the communicator raised its hands and made a strange gesture. A wave of mental force hit the soldiers, making them stumble. Their implants flared in response, automatically increasing their emotional output to counter the attack. The communicator visibly recoiled from the wave of human emotion but stayed on its feet. Then, to everyone's shock, it spoke, not through a translation device but with an actual voice. Why do you resist? It asked in halting English. The harvesting is painless. Your species serves a greater purpose as part of the Dominion. Simmons stepped forward, his rifle aimed at the alien's chest. We're not here to serve you. We're here to drive you off our planet. The communicator tilted its head. Impossible. You are primitive, violent, uncontrolled. That's right, Simmons agreed. And that's why we're going to win. Your people forgot what it means to fight for survival. We never did. He fired. The communicator fell, its pale body leaking silver, fluid onto the floor. Get that communication equipment, Simmons ordered, and let's move out. By dawn, the facility was empty of both Keldori and humans. The freed captives had been transported to a secure location. The soldiers regrouped at the command post where General Sullivan waited. Operation Primal Strike was a complete success, she announced. Not just here, but across the continent. We've liberated over 2,000 human captives and captured 7 Keldori facilities. The soldiers cheered, but they were exhausted. Using the neural implants at maximum output for hours had drained them physically and mentally. Dr. Martinez examined Bill and the other squad leaders. The implants worked even better than we hoped, she said. But you need rest. At least 48 hours before you can safely use them again. Will we get 48 hours? Bill asked Sullivan. The general's face was grim. I don't think so. We've hurt them, but they're regrouping. Our intelligence suggests they're bringing in reinforcements from orbit. They've never faced resistance like this before, and they're responding with everything they have. Then we need more soldiers, Garcia said. More people with implants. We're working on it, Sullivan assured her. Volunteers are already being prepped at facilities across the country. But it takes time to train them properly. Bill thought about what they had accomplished. Hundreds of people rescued, a major alien facility captured. But he also thought about what they had seen inside. The stasis tubes, the neural extractors, the casual way the communicator had talked about harvesting humans. We need to take the fight to them, he said. Not just defend, not just rescue. We need to hit them so hard they'll never want to come back to Earth. Sullivan nodded. That's exactly what we're planning. Operation Final Fury. She unrolled a map on the table. It showed the largest Keldori structure on Earth, a massive facility built into Mount Rainier in Washington state. It was their main base, the center of their operations on the planet. This is where they're coordinated from, Sullivan explained. Intelligence suggests their supreme commander is there, what they call an Archon. If we can take it out, the rest of their forces might withdraw. That's a suicide mission, Donovan said, looking at the fortress-like structure in the satellite image. Not necessarily, Martinez interjected. I've been analyzing the data from the communication station you captured. There's something interesting about the Archon. It's not just their military leader, it's connected psychically to all Keldori on Earth. It serves as a psychic amplifier and stabilizer. Meaning what? Bill asked. Meaning that if we can overwhelm it with enough human emotional energy, we might be able to disrupt the entire Keldori command structure at once. The room was quiet as everyone considered this. We'd need a lot of enhanced soldiers, Garcia said finally. More than we have now. We'll have them, Sullivan promised. Every day more people volunteer when they hear about our successes. Bill looked at the faces around him. Tired, determined humans who had found a way to turn their most primitive instincts into a weapon against an advanced alien race. When do we start? He asked. 2 weeks, Sullivan replied. Rest while you can. Operation Final Fury will be the biggest battle this planet has ever seen. As the meeting broke up, Bill stepped outside the command post. The sun was rising over the horizon, painting the sky gold and pink. For the first time since the invasion, he felt real hope. Humanity had found its strength not in technology or numbers, but in the primal core that made them human. The Keldori had come to harvest what they saw as lesser beings. Instead, they had awakened a sleeping giant. And now, they would learn why humans had dominated Earth for thousands of years, not despite their aggressive nature, but because of it.